up, everybody? This is your boy, Teran Rodriguez, bringing you another edition of Set Point. And as always, we have ourselves a jam-packed show as we have a lot of volleyball to discuss, such as the National Collegiate Men's Volleyball Tournament is here. We got some all-around qualifiers that punched their ticket in as Hawaii took down Long Beach State. Pepperdine stunned UCLA and eventually beat USC. We also had Damon punching their ticket for the first time in program history. We also had Penn State rising from the grave and taking down Princeton. And also Loyola is in the tournament as well. And how about Belmont Abbey punching their ticket into the tournament, winning the Conference Carolina? We also have the National Collegiate Beach Volleyball Tournament this weekend, as will USC be going for the 5-seed, or will there be someone else coming for the crown? Also, we had Golden West winning the 3-4 Men's Volleyball Championship, partying like it's 2013. Plus, the CISW Section Division 1 bracket is released as well as the other bracket, and TBS is in its last week of the regular season. So hand me a volleyball. That's the net, because I'm about to serve some volleyball action here on Set Point. It's Teran Rodriguez bringing you another edition of Set Point here on iSports Radio, your direct feed for all the sports. And welcome one, welcome all to another edition of Set Point. Thank you all for joining me on this beautiful Monday afternoon, Monday evening, Monday wherever you are listening from. Either way, you've made your way to episode 296 of Set Point. Without any further delay, let us begin. But first and foremost, Set Point would not be where it's at without IE Sports Radio providing the platform to go live on StreamYard and on Twitch as well. Please do follow IE Sports Radio on several different social media platforms such as X, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. Also, make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube. We would greatly appreciate it. We are so close to 400 followers, one step at a time, one follower at a time. Definitely subscribe to IE Sports Radio on YouTube. And if you can, definitely do tell or put in the comment section, whether it's in this video or any other video, that you subscribe because of Set Point and Teran Rodriguez. So definitely do that. It would really, really mean a lot. Also, make sure to check out our website, iesportsradio.com, for all of your latest sports news, our blog, our pages dedicated to each podcast, such as Set Point, our merchandise shop, where you can cop t-shirts, tank tops, hoodies, and so much more. You can also catch the Hall of Fame, which I am inductee number 10. Check out our Fans of the Month, and so much more. For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Thank you to everyone for all of your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that sports. A huge shout out to our sponsors, Planet Jerky, Premium Brisket Beef Jerky, Seal the Deal, Wax Seals, and Vital Apparel. So without any further delay, let's get into what those sponsors are all about.
IE Sports Radio fans, this show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, single A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
Rise and shine. It's 4 a.m. The stars are still out. The sun is beneath the horizon, but it's time to punch in and go to work. The comfort of your warm-ups turns into the grinding out of your reps as the clinking and the clanking of the plates create a symphony of euphoria. There's no other feeling like it. Earn it, burn it, and take what's yours. IE Sports Radio has proudly partnered with Vital Apparel, a brand that not only fits great, but also promotes and donates to mental health research. Use our code IESR to get 15% off their comfortable and inspiring gym wear and help them on their amazing journey to support mental health. Go hard, take part in your iron therapy, and be strong. Because when your mental health is as strong as you are, there's no telling how far you'll go.
Hey there, IE Sports Radio fans. Be sure to check out our sponsor, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations and you're looking for that extra special touch? Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or a friend and you want to add to their smile when they receive it. Then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. You can find them on Instagram at sealthedeal_wax stamps and on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals.
For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to keep up with the latest in sports and with all of our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website at iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and check out all of our show pages with personal bios to learn a little bit more about each of our awesome hosts. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the IE Sports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeves, hoodies, and more. For now over a decade here at IE Sports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and we thank you all for your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
That's right, everybody. Definitely check out all of our amazing sponsors. We appreciate those three sponsors for being the official sponsors of IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. And the way you can follow Setpoint on social media is on X, formerly known as Twitter, at set_point.ie, and on Instagram at set_point.iesr. You can follow me, the host, personally on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Teran Rodriguez 1. And that would be greatly appreciated. So without any further delay, let's get on into the volleyball action. We have a lot of volleyball to discuss. As I was going to start off with the National Collegiate Men's Volleyball Tournament and recap championship Saturday and all the conference tournaments, but I think this is actually a personal matter that we have to address. So thank you to Kevin Pratt. So it's his last name is pronounced Pratt, not Prate. I've been pronouncing it wrong. I'm sorry, Kevin Prate. I appreciate you, Kevin Prate, for your contribution to Set Point. It really means a lot. Hats off to you, my brother, and And then Brian Francione pops in the chat room. He was just a guest on Adam Karnick's show, Chi-Town Weekly. He says, good evening, Teran. Thank you for popping in. All right. So we got to address something big that happened today. This was like at about let's say 10 o'clock-ish my time, close to 11. So this news unfortunately broke, and this is very disappointing by all standards. Grand Canyon is unfortunately going to be dropping its men's volleyball program, and this is beyond disappointing just because after the season, it's only going to be a club sport, and it really is disappointing that it had to come to this. So we're about to lose yet another amazing men's volleyball program. We lost LMU, we lost Pacific, we lost San Diego State. So Grand Canyon is unfortunately coming to the list, is going to be added to the list as well, which really sucks just because Grand Canyon just recently made the Final Four last year, and they fell one set away from make it to the national championship. So unfortunately, it's very disappointing to say the least. And I was going to have a guest on, Matt August, former Grand Canyon men's volleyball coach, but he unfortunately couldn't hop on because he's not in the right mindset. And I if you saw my story earlier, you definitely see that he actually is petitioned. He actually started a petition and definitely signed that petition. I signed the petition and do everything you can to try to save Grand Canyon men's volleyball, because we really don't want to lose Grand Canyon men's volleyball. It would really suck, and former players are voicing their opinion and current players are voicing their opinion. And we even got a former Grand Canyon men's volleyball player, Cam Thorne, who plays on UCLA, as he's got a GoFundMe to save Grand Canyon men's volleyball, which I think is pretty awesome if you ask me. So, and I like how everyone is basically standing together when it comes to GCU men's volleyball. It's great. And the EIVA actually released a statement. He said the EIVA expresses profound disappointment over Grand Canyon University's decision to terminate its men's volleyball program. The elimination of any single program represents a setback for the entire men's and boys volleyball community. The EIVA stands united with the GCU men's volleyball student athletes, coaches, and support staff, hoping for a reversal of this choice. Our volleyball community should focus on fostering opportunities, not diminishing them. Russ York, the EIVA commissioner. And that is a very well said. That's a very well said statement right there. I think that's amazing. So honestly, I can't really say I'm disappointed. To say that I'm disappointed would be an understatement, just because I really, really wish that things could have been a whole lot different. And I'm very uptight with this. Stanford almost lost their men's volleyball program, and this isn't how you save the. This isn't how you grow the game of NCAA men's volleyball. This is absolutely not. This is not how you grow it. You grow it by adding more programs, not getting rid of them. So I hope, for the sake of Grand Canyon men's volleyball, that they don't get rid of it. I would be extremely devastated. I'm trying to find the statement regarding GCU men's volleyball, and I hope that they don't get rid of it. So here, the official statement reads as follows. Grand Canyon University announced the discontinuation of its varsity men's volleyball program after 17 years following the end of the team's season. Men's volleyball will be continued to be offered as a club sport. In a rapidly evolving college athletics landscape, GCU is constantly evaluating how it can best position itself as a Division I athletic department and at a university. All right, this next part really got my blood boiling. The move will allow GCU to focus on supporting its remaining 20 athletic programs at the highest level in their respective conferences. Oh, okay, it wasn't this part, but the next part is going to really boil my blood. Men's volleyball is currently sponsored by 27 out of over 360 Division I institutions and no members of the Mountain West Conference. I'm done. End the show, everybody. That's it. They really put that statement out there. Yeah, thanks for talking about how, well, first and foremost, thank you. That's kind of a backhanded statement. Number one, it shows that the NCAA does not grow men's volleyball, and it really frustrates me. I can't stand it. What are you doing? This is partially on the NCAA for for this whole debacle, for not growing NCAA men's volleyball, for not even at least being active on social media. And now we're losing one of the more prominent programs. And keep in mind, Arizona is starting to become a hotbed when it comes to volleyball altogether, not just in boys volleyball, but men's volleyball and even girls volleyball as well. So continuing on with this GCU statement, GCU is committed to providing support services to its impacted student athletes. Those wishing to finish their academic careers at GCU will be able to do so at their existing athletic scholarship levels. The university also offers one of the nation's most robust club sports programs that includes men's volleyball. We'd rather see them on the national stage, though. Those wishing to transfer to other institutions will receive assistance and support in doing so. Okay, that last part at least saves this whole thing, but how dare they mention the fact that NCAA men's, there's only 27 programs, because you got to remember that St. Francis is going down to Division III, but it really sickens me. Like, this is also on the NCAA for not growing NCAA men's volleyball. Like, at least try to be active on social media, but at least everyone and their moms is starting to show support when it comes to GCU, like Rob Aspero, Joe McCurdy, myself, and Matt August, the former GCU men's volleyball assistant coach. Like, this is just unacceptable, and this is just saddening. And you also got to remember what GCU has done the past 3 years. So I'm actually going to put that right on screen. So in the last 3 years, GCU has made the big dance the previous 2 years. That last year, they made it to the Final Four. Last year, they also won its first tournament match in program history. They fell one set short of make it to the national championship because Long Beach State just had a freaking buttload of talent. And then this year, and let's not forget last year, they also won its first ever MPSF tournament against the top seed UCLA. And let's also not forget that they beat said UCLA team this year, and they almost beat them a second time. And they made the MPSF quarterfinals, which eventually they lost to the eventual champion Pepperdine. So the fact that GCU is getting rid of its men's program, it's only going to be available as a club sport, really just sickens me. I'm done. And the NCAA has got to do something. This is why you grow the freaking game of volleyball, by having a social media team. And this, because the fact that the NCAA isn't putting its backbone into it is showing what the defeatist attitude of certain programs. And I hope that no other program is safe. Some are saying that other programs could be dropping their men's volleyball program. And this falls on the NCAA. The NCAA's got to do something when it comes to this. And they got to showcase the NCAA men's volleyball talent at the Division 1-2 level or national collegiate level. But regardless, this is also falls on the NCAA, and I don't want to mispronounce his last name, but I think his name is like Matthew Houlihan. He said he actually had a little suggestion: don't buy stock into GCU, make that stock go down. So all in all, it really just boiled my blood, and I had to take off my set point polo. Brian Francione posted in the chat room, "This is a bummer thanks to this show and our company. I'm so excited to cover volleyball in the fall. People need to learn more about sports rather than stay in their comfort zone. You put in a ton of work." Well, I appreciate that, Brian. Thank you. He also goes on to say, too many people rather bleep about their NFL or NBA team for a full-time work week than learn more about other sports. Oops. Well, I totally agree with that, Brian. But I totally agree. People need to be more informed about NCAA men's volleyball. Like, the women's game is on good standing. They're getting televised by the ESPN networks. They're not on a streaming service for the most part. They're on national TV, which unfortunately I can't really say for men's volleyball. They've only gotten two. They'll have a second national spotlight. The national championship game will be on ESPN2, and also ESPNU televised the Penn State versus UCLA matchup in the First Point Collegiate Challenge, which I actually have some news regarding that. But this is just very frustrating. I couldn't believe this news. I thought this was just a joke, but then I unfortunately saw the writing on the wall. And this really makes me wonder. And now someone else, Tom Pestalacy, former set point guest, he actually said, this makes you wonder why Matt Worley left in the middle of the season. And the writing must have been on the wall. Matt Worley must have known something that we did not. So that was actually really good 2+2 work by Tom Pestalacci. So Matt Worley knew something that we didn't. And heck, maybe even Cam Thorne knew something that we didn't, because he transferred to UCLA following this season. And you know what really sucks is that current players, or the future players that are committed to GCU, they did not get a call from GCU regarding the discontinuation of its men's volleyball program, or it moving into the club level. So, and there is one player that I know that's committed to GCU that's currently in high school, and that's Thatcher Fallbush. Yes, the Thatcher Fallbush of Mira Costa, who probably has a really good chance of winning a CIF Southern Section Championship, but I digress. But yeah, players like him, what's he going to do? Like, he has no program unless he wants to play club volleyball there, which is very disgusting. So I hope for the GCU men's volleyball team's sake that they can get it reinstated, and that this is just unacceptable. And apparently I saw something on Volley Talk, which I don't really go on a whole lot. I promise you I don't go on. This is courtesy of someone anonymous. He says the D1 schools in the EIVA, MPSF, and MIVA could be next. GCU took the stance that they were not a sponsored sport in the schools conference. Men's volleyball is currently sponsored by 27 of more than 360 Division I institutions and no current members of the Mountain West Conference. So, yeah, of course they would have to include a football conference, but I digress in this regard. So I hope that GCU does reconsider this, and I hope that they can continue to keep their men's volleyball program. But I'm just very mad. I'm angry. I'm frustrated. Like, this is just unacceptable. Like, get it together, GCU. Like, I'm going to share the heck out of the petition link. And that Matt August also told me that they're going to be going live nationally in regards to this whole thing. So, yeah, I really do appreciate Matt August do reaching out and whatnot. I understand he couldn't really make it to today's show, and this is kind of on me just because he was going to send me his thoughts, but I guess he's just so busy. He says, we are doing everything we can, petition, going live on the news tomorrow with a player. Well, that's really good. And he says, we are saving this. And then there's a GoFundMe account that's tied into this, courtesy of Cam Thorne, like I mentioned. And I'll be sharing the link in my Instagram story, and I'll also share the link on X, formerly known as Twitter, as well. So please do sign that link. I did what I could to petition to try to get GCU men's volleyball reinstated as a varsity sport and not a club sport. So do whatever you can to try to help out GCU men's volleyball. So I guarantee it, you won't be disappointed. These boys deserve a lot of love and respect, and they really need your help as of this point. So, all right, that is going to do it for this little bit of news. But the bottom line is I'm just disappointed that GCU made this decision, and I hope they do the right thing and they manage to reinstate the men's volleyball program and not just offer it as a club sport. So that'll do it right there. Just going to get my polo on. Very rarely do I want to take my polo off. No, I'm not going to be taking my other clothes off. So all right, but that is that right there. But I just feel so mad about this. Like, I even had to throw in the angry emoji. Anyway, so that is that right there. I just wanted to dedicate that first part of the show to that segment. So we're actually going to talk some NCAA Division III men's volleyball, as the national championship just wrapped up, and the champion was just recently crowned, which I think is pretty cool if you ask me. So can we get a drum roll, please? So your Division III champion in the NCAA men's volleyball Division III tournament is, one more drum roll, Southern Virginia. So Southern Virginia just swept Springfield in straight sets, 25-20, 25-23, and 25-27. So it was a clean sweep. This was actually televised on NCAA.com, and I was just so focused on having Matt August as a potential guest that I kind of forgot about this. But recapping this matchup, Christian Schaefer led Southern Virginia with 13 kills. Jeremy Brown added 9 kills. Christo Biankin had 8 kills, as well as Kyler Evans. They also got 11 digs from Christian Schaefer. They got 12 digs from Justin Madden and 10 digs from Jayton Hall, who also, Gurig Tolman had 36 assists to go along with his 6 digs. And Jeremy Brown also added 8 digs. So for Springfield, they were led by Sam Levinson. He had 16 kills. And then after that, Carter Duravage added 6 kills. Dylan Mulvaney had 30 assists. And then leading the dig department was Jake Desla. Oh my God, I'm going to mispronounce this one. Jake Deslauriers. Jake Deslauriers, he had 9 digs to go along with his 3 kills. But Southern Virginia ends the season as they finished a whopping 34-1, which I think is pretty darn cool if you ask me. So great job to them. Congratulations to those boys. I know we didn't really cover too much NCAA Division III men's volleyball, but honestly, that's big news right there. Big for the DMV. And I think it's great. And I think it's great that they wound up having such a historic season. And who knows? Maybe we'll see a team like that play like a Division II school. Because I saw Springfield play Concordia Irvine, and they also played a JUCO, a junior college team in Orange Coast this year. So I think that's pretty solid. That's pretty cool as well. Christian Schaefer was also the Division III Player of the Year, as like I mentioned, Southern Virginia finished a whopping 35-1. Their lone loss came at the hands of, wait for it, Springfield, which surprisingly, Springfield beat them in 4 sets on March 29th. So this was in the Springfield tri-match in Springfield, Massachusetts. So good to see Southern Virginia get its little bit of a lick back against Springfield. So there you have it right there. And that is pretty much that when it comes to NCAA Division. When it comes to NCAA Division III, I know that was a little bit of a quicker segment, but with all that's happening right now in NCAA Division 1-2, and even the NAI in men's volleyball is busy, as we have that this week as well. As that actually starts tomorrow, so it's crazy when you think about it. As there's actually, did I even put this down? Yes, the NAI men's volleyball tournament is tomorrow. And the teams are as follows. The Masters College is the number 1 overall seed. It's a 12-team tournament and has pools. So it's 3 teams of, or 4 pools of 3 teams. So you got Masters College as the number 1 overall seed, then St. Xavier as the 2 seed, Lawrence Tech as the 3 seed, and then Missouri Baptist as the 4 seed. So something to note is that Masters College and St. Xavier are both undefeated. So I think it's pretty cool. And we could get an undefeated versus undefeated matchup. I haven't seen anything like that since Cathedral Catholic took on Archbishop Mitty a couple of years ago when they had Julia Blyashov, who's now at Stanford. But the pools are as follows. 1, 8, 9 are Masters. And then, I also forgot to mention the other teams. So I just mentioned the top 4 teams, but you also got the 8 seed Park of Missouri in the same pool as the Masters, as well as Mount Mercy. Then you've also got St. Xavier, Grandview, and Benedictine, which is the team that Matt August coaches. And then you've also got the 3 seed Lawrence taking on Missouri Valley and Georgetown. And then lastly, you've got Missouri Baptist, St. Thomas, and UC Merced. UC Merced's making its first NAI tournament appearance, and they're also going to be I think they're going to be in NCAA Division 1-2. Sorry if I'm just fixing my camera, just make myself look a little bit straightening it out as is. But anyway, that's pretty much your NAI men's volleyball tournament right there. And then, so look, I don't want to like jump to conclusions, but I really, really, really think we can see Masters and St. Xavier. But Lawrence Tech and Missouri Baptist are also both 2 pretty good programs. And when it comes to this tournament, anything can happen. I mean, last year I predicted Vanguard and Masters, and we only got Vanguard, or we did get Vanguard. I think we got like Missouri Baptist and the Masters, and then the Masters eventually lost in the championship match. But it would be so awesome and epic if we got St. Xavier and the Masters. So we'll have to wait and see when it comes to that. But pool play starts tomorrow, and I look forward to seeing the gameplay when it comes to this. And I think it's going to be fun times. But that's going to do it for the NAI men's volleyball. So now we go on into the NCAA men's volleyball conference championship recap. So in terms of conference championships, we already had Fort Valley State having punched its ticket in. We also had other teams punching their ticket last weekend. So we'll start off conference by conference in chronological order. So the second team to punch their ticket into the National Collegiate Men's Volleyball Tournament was Belmont Abbey. They took down Mount Olive in straight sets in the championship match. Remember, this was the same Mount Olive team that was ranked, and this was also a Mount Olive team that just swept the major postseason awards. But Belmont Abbey did that. That was very impressive, if you ask me. So great job to Belmont Abbey. Former set point guest Derek Sullivan will be. I hope to reach out to all the coaches. So I've reached out to pretty much almost every institution except for UCLA. Go figure. And I'm hoping to get every coach or at least one player interviewed before the National Collegiate Men's Volleyball Tournament. It's going to be tough, which you're about to see later on. But second team to punch their ticket into the National Collegiate Men's Volleyball Tournament was Belmont Abbey. Third team was Penn State, as they swept Princeton. Penn State had to go the long way in terms of winning its conference tournament. They actually needed to take down Harvard in straight sets, and then they also took down NJIT in straight sets, and then they took down Princeton in straight sets in Princeton at Dillon Gymnasium to win its conference tournament and punch its ticket back to the NCAA tournament or the National Collegiate Men's Volleyball Tournament. So just when you thought Penn State was done, they managed to make a comeback, and look at them. They are back in the big dance, which I think is nice. So the fourth team to punch their ticket to the National Collegiate Men's Volleyball Tournament was Damon. So remember, the NEC, or the Northeast Conference, is the new automatic qualifier for the big dance. Great to see that other conferences are getting involved, as Damon took down the top seed St. Francis in 4 sets. Now, St. Francis actually did not have Andrew Deerdorf, which was such a big bummer, but unfortunately, injuries are part of the game, and Damon was able to capitalize off of that. So Damon punched their ticket to the National Collegiate Men's Volleyball Tournament. They were the fourth team to do so. The fifth team punching their ticket to the National Collegiate Men's Volleyball Tournament was Loyola, as they just swept the Ohio State on its home floor. This was probably the most complete volleyball we've seen Loyola play all season, and they also avenged two early season losses to Lewis in the semifinals. They took them down straight sets. They also took down Queens in the quarterfinals. But the Lewis win was very impressive. That was a character win right there, just because it shows that it's tough to beat a team twice in one season, and it also shows that Loyola played its best volleyball when it mattered most. And unfortunately, we will not see the tournament host Ohio State in the big dance, which is very unfortunate. But unfortunately, this was kind of a little bit of a young transition year. But the Buckeyes will be back next year. Sixth team to punch their ticket into the National Collegiate Men's Volleyball Tournament was Pepperdine. They won the MPSF tournament, but to get there, they actually had to knock off UCLA, which I thought was pretty epic, if you ask me. They also knocked off GCU in the quarterfinals, like I mentioned earlier, and they knocked off UCLA in 5 sets in the semifinals. It was back and forth in the 5th set, and then Pepperdine went up 13-11, and then UCLA had match point at 14-13. UCLA misses its serve, and then they also hit it out. So now Pepperdine has match point, and then they clinched the match on a walk-off block. They ripped the hearts out of UCLA, and it really shook the core of the NCAA men's volleyball world. And then they also took down USC in 4 sets. First set was kind of the icebreaker. Pepperdine won that in overtime, 26-24. And then pretty much everything just did not go USC's way. I mean, they had their top players like Jack Duker and Dylan Klein, but it just wasn't enough. Ryan Barnett was just amazing. Cole Hartkey, also amazing. So congratulations to Pepperdine. They're back in the big dance for the first time since, I think, 2021, if not 22. I think it's 22. Yeah, 22 was the year they lost to UCLA in the quarterfinals, and then so on and so forth. So you have that right there. And then the 7th team to punch the final automatic qualifier for the National Collegiate Men's Volleyball Tournament was Hawaii. It was an epic win. Hawaii, well, they took down UC Irvine in the semifinals in 4 sets. And they also took down Long Beach State, number 1 Long Beach State, in 4 sets, which I thought was very impressive. They just played a clean, solid game. And they knew they couldn't leave anything to chance when it came to the whole selection committee thing. And that was a huge win for Hawaii. I think they were in regardless. I mean, you can't tell me with a straight face that they would have missed the tournament had they not made the tournament with a few tough losses. But yeah, Hawaii was in, and the at-larges went to Long Beach State and UCLA. I also just say the NCAA should be ashamed of itself for false propaganda. They said that the selection show was live, but unfortunately it was not live. It was pre-recorded, which I think is rather stupid if you ask me. But it is what it is, and UCLA and Long Beach State got in. Long Beach State got the number 1 overall seed. UCLA got the number 3 seed. Hawaii was the 2 seed. 4 seed was Loyola. 5 seed was Pepperdine, if not vice versa. 6 seed is Belmont Abbey. The 8th seed is Fort Valley State, and the play-in match for the 7th seed will be Penn State at Damon. So that's actually going to be this weekend. So that's pretty cool right there, if you ask me. So now to show you the bracket, and this bracket is I actually got permission to use this. So ta-da! Here's the bracket right here. And this is actually courtesy of the Volleyball Recap, a.k.a. my boy Izzy. He did – well, let me just get rid of the banner for this. Yeah, this is the entire NCAA men's volleyball bracket in its entirety. And yes, I did get permission from the Volleyball Recap to post this. I really do appreciate Izzy for letting me use this image, just because I do my best to try not to use any images that aren't my own. But this is it. This is the bracket. So down below, you will see Penn State versus Damon. Look at that. It's the play-in match. So whoever wins that will play Hawaii in the quarterfinals next week. And that will be played on Thursday. Yeah, Thursday. And then Saturday, not this Saturday, but next Saturday is the semifinals. And then next Monday, oh, I'm sorry, not next. Yeah, not this Monday, but 2 weeks from tonight will be the national championship, which means I'm going to have to move set point. So tough tamale, but I digress. So I might as well just make my prediction for the well, let's just pull up the citation. So yeah, this is I do appreciate the Volleyball Recap for letting me use this image. He did such a great job with some of these brackets. Like, if you're not following him on Instagram, he is a fiend when it comes to these graphics. He is just absolutely amazing. And I don't know if I can, I mean, I'd have to find like a cheap or free graphic program to use. But let's put this away, and then let's move back into this, and then abracadabra. So Damon and Penn State is the playing round on Friday. All right. Well, it's time for me to make my predictions when it comes to this. All right. Damon is making its first ever appearance while Penn State is back in the tournament for, I think, the... Let me see if I'm doing my math right. 23, 4, the third straight year, because 2022, they missed the tournament because Princeton and whatnot. But Penn State at Damon is the playing round. All right. Penn State has had its fair share of ups and downs, mainly its downs, but they also are back in the top 20, which at this point is kind of irrelevant other than the fact that UC Irvine and USC are top 5, but they are missing said big dance. So, all right. So here's my thing when it comes to Penn State Damon. I really want to give Damon a chance, but honestly, I think Penn State's experience is just going to be too much. I think Penn State is just going to be too much for the Wildcats, and I feel that this is going to look like it's going to be Penn State's to win. But I think Damon is going to make this very difficult for them. I think it's going to be a bloodbath. It's going to be an East Coast road trip. I don't think Penn State will not have to go far when it comes to travel. So it's not like they're going to California and whatnot. So I think for Penn State, they'll win this one, but it'll be close. I wouldn't be surprised if this one went 5. And I think that'd be the greatest thing, a 5-set match happening, which I think would be pretty darn cool if you ask me. But that's just going to be my lone prediction. I'm not going to try to predict the entire bracket just yet. I'm going to leave y'all in suspense when it comes to that. So you all aren't going to get anything out of me when it comes to that. But I got Penn State beating Damon. If Damon somehow wins, I will gladly eat my words. So that's going to do it for the NCAA men's volleyball portion of this show. And just like that, we only have 2 more weeks left until, 2 more weeks. 2 weeks from tonight is the final match of the season. But I digress in that regard. I'm trying not to get a little emotional because after this, no more NCAA volleyball period. But there is also going to be something happening on this Saturday, but more on that later. But we're going to take ourselves a quick little commercial break. I actually have a little bit of a text that I need to answer regarding something important. But let's take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we've got some NCAA beach volleyball to discuss. Then we got some PVF and some 3C2A and a little bit of high school volleyball. So keep it locked here. You are listening to Set Point here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. We'll be right back after this.
Sports fans, do you like teams that are tough, cities that are tougher, and fan bases that are passionate about their teams? How about teams that are historic and stadiums that are iconic? Then you belong in Chicago, and you need to check out Chi-Town Weekly. Join me, Adam Kernan, every week as we keep up with all things Chicago sports. Bears, Bulls, Blackhawks, Cubs, White Sox. We'll cover them all, plus more. The Windy City is always buzzing, and we'll keep you up on all the big games and major stories. So tune in to Chi-Town Weekly every week right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's up, Pittsburgh? This is Ralph Galise, the host of the Injury Report on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Are you that passionate, diehard Steelers, Penguins, Pirates, or just a Pittsburgh sports fan? Then please join me on the Injury Report every Tuesday on IE Sports Radio, the direct feed for all that is sports. And I will update you on all that's black and gold, and have you telling your Pittsburgh fans and friends what's up with Pittsburgh sports. Tune in Tuesday with me, Ralph Galise, the Injury Report on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Let's go!
Back with segment number 2 of Set Point here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. Definitely check out all of our amazing shows, such as Chi-Town Weekly and the Injury Report with Adam Karnick and Ralph Galise, respectively. Both of those shows will be talking about the teams that are in the National Collegiate Men's Volleyball Tournament. Hopefully, I will guarantee it, but I digress. All right, let's talk some NCAA beach volleyball as all the conference tournaments are wrapped up, and the beach volleyball or the National Collegiate Beach Volleyball Tournament is this weekend. So some teams to clinch their automatic qualifiers are as follows. Long Beach State clinched the Big West, which I thought was pretty cool. They took down Cal Poly. And in the MPSF, the first ever MPSF, we also had Stanford clinching the automatic qualifier from there, which I thought was pretty nice if you ask me. You also had other teams like FAU clinch its conference tournament, which was very good. You also had Boise State punching its tournament or its ticket to the National Collegiate Beach Volleyball Tournament. Yes, the same Boise State that kind of helped me become a little famous, which I thought was pretty cool if you ask me. And then you had a bunch of other teams punching their ticket, like North Florida. And I just want to get the here are the automatic qualifiers. So like I mentioned, Big West is Long Beach State, MPSF Stanford, the Southland Conference, Boise State, West Coast Conference, LMU, to no surprise. North Florida is the ASUN Conference, and then FAU is Conference of USA, and then Chattanooga is the PVC, OVC, and then the Sun Belt Conference was Georgia State. So those are your automatic qualifiers. And I should also mention that in terms of like other conference tournament winners, you had the Big 12 conference tournament champion was TCU, but there's no automatic qualifier for the Big 12, which I think is silly. It's the first ever Big 12 conference tournament, but there's no automatic qualifier. But I digress. Then the 2C2A conference championship was won by Texas. The last ever 2C2A conference championship was won by Texas in its first year, which I think is pretty nice. Stein Metzger's team continues to be on a tear. And that is pretty much that when it comes to all the other conference the notable conference tournaments. So that's that right there. So now let's go into the collegiate beach volleyball tournament. So the bracket is as follows, is going to basically be the scroll down below. So it's a 3-day tournament. It's taking place they're taking place in Alabama. I don't think they're taking place in Chattanooga, but it's not Grand Rapids. I'm blanking on it. It's not Omaha. Oh God, how am I blanking on this? I know Gulf Shores. Yeah, it's being taken place in Gulf Shores, which I think is pretty nice if you ask me. So let's just get the bracket out of the way. So the top overall seed is actually UCLA, which I was actually surprised. UCLA actually lost in the MPSF contenders bracket semifinals. So they lost to Stanford in the semifinals of the MPSF tournament, and then they lost in the contenders bracket final to USC, which USC eventually fell to Stanford. So UCLA is the number 1 overall seed. They've got Chattanooga. The 2 seed is TCU. They won the Big 12 tournament, but had to apply as an at-large. They'll be playing Georgia State. The 3 seed is Stanford. They won the MPSF. They'll take on Boise State. 4 seed is LMU. They take on FAU. 5 seed is USC, the past 4 years, national champion. They will be playing North Florida. The 6 seed is Cal Poly. Even though they did not win the Big West tournament, they've had such an amazing season overall, and they were seeded higher over Long Beach State. Cal Poly has probably the most interesting matchup out there. They've got LSU. 7 seed is Texas. They take on Cal. And then rounding off the top 8, is Florida State. They take on Long Beach State, which I think is kind of a little bit of a slap in the face for Long Beach State. But I digress. All right, but that's pretty much that. Those are all the matchups right there. Hopefully you all caught them. We'll just let them scroll one last time before I take it off screen. So we'll just pop that off right there. But now it's time for me to make my predictions for who will win the National Collegiate Beach Volleyball Championship. So we'll actually we'll start from the bottom all the way to the top, the top to the bottom, and then go from there. So UCLA Chattanooga, this one's kind of a no-brainer here. I mean, as much as I think that as great of a season as Chattanooga's had, and as great of a team as Chattanooga is, I just don't think they hold a candle to UCLA. This is UCLA. I say this every year with UCLA. This could be UCLA's best chance at winning a national championship. They took down USC. They at least have a few good wins under their belt, even though they have some losses as well. But I got UCLA beating Chattanooga fairly easily. All right, now for Florida State versus Long Beach State. So these two teams actually met against one another. I think it was in the Death Volley Invitational being played at LSU. All right, so this one's so tricky to predict. Long Beach State has been battle-tested all year, but Florida State has also been battle-tested as well. Long Beach State returns most of its players from last year, but Florida State has one of its more younger teams, but they're still very dangerous. All right, this one's going to depend on if Florida State has peaked at the right time. I mean, they lost in the conference tournament championship to Texas, but does that mean that they've peaked, or are they still waiting to peak? This one is so tough to predict, but you know what? Long Beach State has yet to win a National Collegiate Beach Volleyball tournament match. So you know what? Might as well be as good of a time to do so right now. I got Long Beach State beating Florida State in the first round. That's going to feel so weird not seeing Florida State out of the first round, but I think Long Beach State can make it out of the first round. There's some weird reason is telling me that Long Beach State is going to make it out of the first round because they've got Malia and Taylor at the ones, and they are just a deadly duo at the ones for Long Beach State, and they've got a bunch of other really good players as well. So I know Florida State also has some great players on that team, but I think they're still a little on the young side and whatnot, so we shall see. Then the matchup after that, we've got USC versus North Florida. Okay, well, USC, clearly this is kind of one of their more down years, but they still look pretty good. I mean, they made it all the way to the MPSF championship match through the contenders bracket. There's no doubt in my mind they'll beat North Florida. I'd be shocked if USC lost this one. But I think USC beats North Florida, and I think that USC should handle business, no doubt about it. Then you've got 4-seed LMU taking on 13-seed Florida Atlantic. Okay, FAU is a little too inconsistent for my liking, and honestly, LMU is having one of its best seasons in probably in team history. So, I shouldn't say that. One of their more better seasons because they beat UCLA, they beat USC. The only team that I think tops LMU's historically is that team that made it all the way to the national championship through the contenders bracket. So LMU is going to beat FAU, no doubt about it. I just think FAU, as good as they are, I just don't think they're consistent enough to take down a very talented LMU team. Then next up, we have Boise State, the 14 seed, taking on Stanford, the 3 seed. Well, look, I like Boise State. I think they have a great story. This is their first ever appearance in the National Collegiate Beach Volleyball Championship. But my thing is with Stanford, they are a freaking wagon this year. I just don't see Stanford slowing down for anybody. So give me Stanford over Boise State. I hope Boise State makes it competitive, though. Then we've got, this is probably the most interesting matchup that is not like an 8 versus 9. LSU, the 11 seed, taking on Cal Poly, the 6 seed. So one storyline question that I have is, will LSU continue its momentum? Will they be able to pull off upsets like they did last year? Well, that's going to depend because remember, LSU was kind of the underdog last year, and I don't think anyone had them going to the semifinals only to lose to UCLA. And they even gave UCLA a run for their money. So, you know what? This one's probably going to boil down to the wire here, but I think Cal Poly just barely comes out with the win. I think Cal Poly is going to have its best gameplay. I think they're going to play their best volleyball, and honestly, do not sleep on the Mustangs. Their head coach, Todd Rogers, just surpassed 200 wins as a head coach, so do not sleep on Cal Poly. Then we've got the 10 versus 7 match, 10 seed Cal versus 7 seed Texas. All right, well, Texas does have a very good team. There's no doubt about that. Cal has kind of butted heads with Texas several different times, and honestly, what Steinmetzger said in the win over LMU is that the team is starting to believe that they can beat these teams. Now, Cal is a pretty solid team. They're nowhere near bad by any means, but this Texas team, I think, is really starting to figure itself out. They've been around for 3 years. This year marked the first time they took down ranked competition, and they won their conference tournament, which next year they're going to the MPSF. I hate to really say this for Cal, but I got to go with Texas here. I think Steinmetzger is working his magic really well for the Longhorns, and his team is bought in, and they have so many great wins this season. They got wins against Florida State, LSU, LMU. I mean, they win Long Beach State. The list goes on and on. So give me Texas to win a grinded-out duel against Cal. And then to close off the first round, Georgia's number 15, Georgia State, taking on number 2, TCU. All right, look, there's nothing. I mean, Georgia State 3 years ago, they took out Texas or TCU. But I'm just going to say this. I don't think Lightning's going to strike twice. I don't think TCU is going to lose to Georgia State and get bounced from the tournament. I just think TCU has made arguably their best team in program history. So I got TCU advancing to the second or to the quarterfinal. So to the quarterfinals, I would have UCLA versus Long Beach State. Well, no matter who wins between Florida State and Long Beach State, UCLA is probably going to advance to the semifinals. UCLA is just a freaking wagon, and I just don't think either Florida State or Long Beach State has what it takes to knock off the Bruins. So give me UCLA to advance to the semifinals. So yeah. And then I have the 5 versus 4, USC the 5 taking on LMU the 4 seed. All right, here's my thing with this matchup. In past years, I would say USC is probably going to roll through LMU, but this LMU team is pretty darn good. I really think this LMU team can really go far. That being said, even though USC is down this year, even though they've had their fair share of tough losses to the Lions and just a bunch of other teams, I just gotta go with USC. Until I see a Dane Blanton coach team from USC lose in the National Collegiate Beach Volleyball Championship, I'm not going to pick against USC. Give me the Trojans over LMU in a thriller. And then I've also got Stanford versus Cal Poly. All right, this is the more intriguing matchup. This would be the more intriguing matchup if seeds hold. We could also see LSU Stanford by means, just because LSU, like I mentioned last year, they had such a surprising run and whatnot, which I thought was pretty impressive. But this is such a tough one to predict. I really, really think that that one of these teams, Stanford Cal Poly, is such a tough one to predict. All right, Stanford has probably its best team in a hot minute, while Cal Poly still has one of its more better teams. And Cal Poly did beat Stanford this year, but this is so tough. And the thing about Stanford is that last year really kind of left a sour taste in my mouth. They were the 3 seed, and I think a few had them advancing to the national championship. But this is going to be so bold and probably the worst thing for me to predict. But I'm going to take Cal Poly to beat Stanford. I think Cal Poly gets it done over Stanford. That's if they get past LSU. If Cal Poly gets past LSU, I got Cal Poly over Stanford. I can't imagine. I mean, Stanford's good and all, but Cal Poly, I think they got their bad duel out of the way when they lost to Long Beach State. Because I've said it in the past, and I'll say it again, Long Beach State seems to have the answer for Cal Poly no matter what happens. When it truly matters, when the chips are on the table, Long Beach State always clutches up against Cal Poly. But for this Cal Poly-Stanford matchup, give me Cal Poly over Stanford. And then I've got the last quarter final, I've got TCU versus Texas. All right, this one's another intriguing matchup just because, well, TCU actually beat Texas in its only meeting. But that being said, TCU also lost a point due to injury and whatnot, medical injury. All right, well, look, this one's going to be a barn burner, no doubt about it. My only thing is for Texas is they take on a very stacked TCU team. And honestly, as much as I like Texas, I love me some Steinmetzger. I think TCU just takes it. I hope Texas makes it a competitive one because they were competitive, and I'm not going to mince words. I didn't just say Texas made it their matchup competitive against TCU just to make Steinmetzger happy and just so he wouldn't reject my interview. But I think Texas can make it competitive against TCU. I just feel that TCU is probably going to pull away and win the whole duel. So I got TCU advancing to the semifinals. So then my semifinal number 1 would be UCLA Long Beach, or not UCLA Long Beach State, UCLA USC. So these two teams met in the national championship last year, and man, I can't believe we're seeing UCLA and USC in the same matchup this year. All right, well, the last time these two teams met was the MPSF semifinals in the contenders part of the bracket. Look, I'm a big believer in UCLA. Jenny Johnson-Jordan does an outstanding job with that team. I can't mince words. They are going to be such a tough out for USC. I think this year is going to be so much more tougher to beat UCLA at this stage of the season than it was last year. But that being said, I think USC pulls off the upset. I'm going to take USC to pull off the upset over UCLA. I'm really setting myself up just to get dunked on by UCLA fans. I already can feel the UCLA fans getting ready to dunk on me if I get this prediction wrong. But I got SC over UCLA in the semifinals. And then in the other semifinal, I got Cal Poly versus TCU. TCU is a very, very good team. And as good as Cal Poly is, I just don't think they stack up well against TCU. I'll even go as far as to say that I don't even think Stanford stacks up to TCU all that well. So I got TCU edging out Cal Poly. I think it's gonna be pretty close, but I think TCU just inches out the win in a grinded out clinching match of the duel. So give me TCU in the national championship as well. So the national championship duel would be USC versus TCU in my book. And you know what? Look, I love USC. I don't know if y'all know this, but I'm kind of a secret USC fan. But my thing is that I think TCU is so hungry for this national championship. This might be the best chance that TCU has in a hot minute. I would be shocked if TCU just lost before this stage. I think TCU advances to the national championship, and I have TCU winning it all. I love USC. Dane Blanton is a great coach. Their players are so amazing, and I hope USC does prove me wrong. Well, I hope they also prove me right and make it to the national championship. But I think that TCU is just going to inch out USC. I'm probably going to make Larry B mad when he sees this, but honestly, I just feel that TCU is going to edge out USC. Do I want that to happen? My heart says USC, my mind says TCU, and I'm going with my mind. TCU wins the national championship, and they're finally going to bring a national championship back to Fort Worth. And I'm going to be kicking myself if TCU somehow loses before the national championship or they just lose to SC. I'm going to kick myself regardless if USC doesn't even make the national championship. This year is probably going to be the toughest year for USC to make a national championship. So if USC does win the national championship this year, then they will have earned it, no doubt about it. But for the time being, I've got TCU over USC in the national championship. All right, but that is that for the National Collegiate Beach Volleyball side of things. This is the last week of NCAA Beach Volleyball. And it's good that they actually have the NCAA Beach Volleyball tournament away from the NCAA Men's Volleyball tournament, because both intertwining just does not make things a whole lot easy, especially for my boy Rob Aspero. But I think he can be at two places at once. We'll see, though. All right, but that is that for the NCAA Beach Volleyball side of things. So let's go to the PVF, second to last week of the season recap, as this week actually is the final week of the regular season, which hard to believe that the PVF season is coming to a close. Feels like yesterday that the season just started, but this week the last week of the season starts on Wednesday. But taking a backtrack through memory lane, last week started on Friday, April 25th. So last Friday started the second to last week of the regular season, and we had the Orlando Valkyries taking down the Indy Ignite in 4 sets. All right, this was kind of obvious, and Orlando had already clinched, but they didn't do Indy any favors because Orlando beat Indy at Fisher's Events Arena in 4 sets. So I think it's a solid win for Orlando. They're still pretty darn solid. Brittany Abercrombie led the way with 16 kills and 13 digs. Courtney Schwann had 11 kills. You also had Cass Brown with 10 kills. So Nora Sis actually led the way for Orlando with 17 kills. Ooh, that's pretty good. Having Nora. See, it's good that Orlando has variety. If they're just going to have Brittany Abercrombie carry the team, that's going to be such a problem for Orlando, because they can't just have Brittany Abercrombie just carry the load every single night, because that would just be a disastrous. Champu Gudapard had 47 assists to go along with 8 digs. So all in all, it was a good win for Orlando. Now for Indy, they didn't clinch yet, but they felt so close to clinching, as they were led by Azani Taylor, who had 21 assists. You had Nina Kahik, who had 15 kills. Taylor had 13 digs to go along, as well as Kahik having 9 digs. They also got Sydney Hilly pegged for 51 assists and 11 digs. So all in all, they haven't clinched yet, but they're getting so close to clinching. And then we had this matchup last Friday. We had the Omaha Supernovas taking down the Columbus Fury in 5 sets, which that was a very gritty win for Omaha, beating the last place team. I mean, don't get me wrong, a win's a win, but this just goes to show that Omaha has a lot to play for, and Columbus, they have nothing left to lose. And that's the most dangerous team. As Brooke Nuneviller had 18 kills and 18 digs. Reagan Cooper had 15 kills. Kelsey Payne had 13 kills to go along with 12 digs. And then for Columbus, they were led by Kaylee Cox, who had 16 kills and 11 digs. They also had 13 kills and 11 digs from Megan Courtney Lush. Morgan Lewis also chipped in 15 kills, which I thought was pretty nice as well. Isabella Rapax had 6 kills, which was kind of an off night for her. So that's kind of been that was probably going to be as competitive as it'll get for the Columbus Fury against the Omaha Supernovas. And I feel for the Fury, but it is what it is. Let's go to the final matchup. This little tank matchup, the Vegas Thrill taking down the San Diego Mojo in a reverse sweep. So I don't really have too much to talk about. I mean, Hannah Maddox had 22 kills and 7 digs. They also had Lauren Jardine with 12 kills and 12 digs. Adora Ane had 11 kills and 16 digs. You had Carly Graham with 52 assists and 21 digs. You had Mary Schroll with 22 digs. So great win at home for Vegas, as San Diego was led by Yasmin Bedart Ghani, who had 14 kills. Kendra Dalkey had 11 kills. And that is pretty much that. But I should also mention that Marie Shara Venegas had 22 digs. They also got 9 digs and 31 assists from Daeyoung Lee. And then they also got 10 digs from Maya Tabron, who only had 3 kills. So that's that right there for that little matchup right there. So jumping over to Saturday, we had the Atlanta Vibe taking down the Grand Rapids Rise in 5 sets, which, don't look now, but Atlanta has won 12 straight matches, which is the longest win streak in PVF history, which is pretty nice and all. As Pia Timmer and Leah Edmond both had 14 kills for the Atlanta Vibe. Edmond had 13 digs. They also got 14 digs from Aiko Jones to go along with 9 kills. They got 13 kills from Corey Lewis. They got 23 digs from Morgan Hens, who also chipped in 7 assists. Marley Monserrat added 48 assists to go along with 18 digs. And then for the Grand Rapids Rise, they were led by Allison Bastianelli, who had 20 kills. They had Carly Snyder adding 13 kills and 24 digs. Elena Ogilvie had 30 digs, even in a loss. Man, that's brutal. Erica Pritchard had 11 kills to go along with 6 digs. As a team, Grand Rapids had 103 digs, but they just had one more than the Atlanta Vibe, which I think is crazy. It feels like we're watching a Big Ten matchup right here. Ellie Holthus had 13 kills to go along with 7 digs. Cameron Turner added 58 assists to go along with 21 digs. And then that loss actually opened the door for the Indy Ignite as they took on the lowly San Diego Mojo, which the Indy Ignite took down at Fisher's Event Center in 4 sets. And by doing so, they locked up the final spot of the PVF playoffs as the Indy Ignite were led by Anna DeBeer, who had 17 kills. Nina Cahick had 14 kills and 17 digs. Azani Taylor had 11 kills. Sydney Hilly had 43 assists and 17 digs. So in its first year, the Indy Ignite are dancing, which means the Vegas Thrill, the San Diego Mojo, the Grand Rapids Rise, and the Columbus Fury are all eliminated. Though it was kind of obvious with the bottom 3 being the Fury, the Mojo, and the Thrill. Man, what a horrible turnaround for a horrible turnaround for the Thrill. The Thrill were on a winning streak. They were in first place. They were 9-2 at one point, and then that loss to Columbus really set them back quite a bit. Makes me wonder if there was any hijinks in the locker room after that loss. But Janasia Moore led the way for San Diego Mojo with 15 kills and 12 digs. Yasmin Bedar Ghani had 12 kills. They also got 9 kills from Maya Tabron along with 8 digs. Sarah Sponsel had 44 assists and 16 digs. And that is that. And then we also had the Omaha Supernovas sweeping the Vegas Thrill, which, okay, this one's kind of not surprising, but Omaha really needed this win. So my takeaway is that Omaha is winning the matches that they're supposed to win. And they were led by Allie Batenhorst, who had 10 kills. She actually had a hitting percentage of 670. And that's actually PVF history, as she wound up having the most efficient hitting percentage in PVF history, which I think is pretty nice if you ask me. And then they also got 9 kills from Kelsey Payne, 8 kills from Reagan Cooper, which I thought was pretty cool if you ask me. And then Vegas was led by Hannah Max, who had 7 kills. This match pretty much described Vegas's season in a nutshell. Excuse me for 1 second. Excuse me. Sorry, I just had a little quick sneeze here, but I'm back. All right, but yeah, that match pretty much described Vegas's season in a nutshell. So there you have it right there. So all 4 teams have locked up their spot in the playoffs, but they're still positioning. But we'll talk about that in a little bit. But closing off week number we're in week 15. We were in week 15. Either way, closing off the second to last week of the PVF season, regular season, we had the Orlando Valkyries taking down the Columbus Fury in 4 sets at home. Brittany Abercrombie led the way with 22 kills and 10 digs. Lindsay Vanderweide had 20 kills and 11 digs, which I thought was nice. Norris added 13 kills. She's becoming a weapon for Orlando, and she might actually be the key for Orlando's success. Kaz Brown also added 10 kills, which I thought was pretty darn good if you ask me. I thought they had, where's that other girl? Natalie Foster. She had 3 kills. Did she have an ace? She had 1 ace. But that's still pretty good. Anyway, so Columbus was led by Isabella Rapax, who had 14 kills. They also got 10 kills from Jill Gillen, along with 10 digs. Nutsara Tomcom had 32 assists to go along with 12 digs, but it was not enough. Paula Kriame had 15 digs. I think she made history according to Gen B of the Show of the Land, but not entirely sure. Anyway, that's going to do it for the for last week's PVF regular season. So now for the last full week of the PVF regular season. And this week, while the teams have locked up said playoff spots, their position is still up in the air. So Wednesday, we've got the Orlando Valkyries versus Grand Rapids Rise. Long story short, with the Valkyries, they can't move any higher than 3. So I think they're stuck there for the time being. But I guess we'll just quickly glance at the stats. Omaha is in first place, but Atlanta is 1 match behind them. And I think it's really cool that Atlanta has won a whopping 12 straight matches. I don't think Indy can catch up to Orlando as well. So I think Indy is locked in at the 4, and then Orlando's locked in at the 3. So if anything, Orlando could probably rest their stars and play their reserves for this matchup. So this one's not too important. Thursday actually is important, as you got the Atlanta Vibe taking on the Indy Ignite. All right, Atlanta needs to win all of its matches, and they also need to hope that Omaha loses its last match of the season. And yeah, they have 2 matches remaining, which we're going to get into one of them. But all Atlanta needs to do is win out and hope that Omaha loses one. So this one's going to be tough because it's at Fisher's Event Center, but we shall see. Indy is also going to try to look to build some momentum. I also wouldn't be surprised if Indy wants to rest their starters, but we'll see. Maybe just like play sparing minutes, if you ask me. So we'll see what happens. And then also Thursday, we have Columbus Fury versus San Diego Mojo. Okay, we're done with that matchup. That one doesn't matter. No offense to the 2 teams, but that one it doesn't have any impact when it comes to playoff seeding. Like, it's probably just for like draft positioning. I actually do want to see which team is the worst. I wonder if they do it NFL style, where the worst team in the league gets the number 1 pick, and then so on and so forth. Or maybe they just do it draft lottery style, and then it's like bingo and whatnot. But yeah, this one's the battle of the bottom. It's the worst team in the league versus the second worst team in the league. End of discussion. All right, Friday, Omaha Supernovas at Grand Rapids Rise. Omaha needs to win out, otherwise they don't get the 1 seed, and they probably are facing Orlando, which has really given them some trouble this season. But honestly, I'm confident in Omaha. They're not going to need to rest their starters anytime soon, unless Grand Rapids does lose. If Grand Rapids loses, then honestly, I could see Omaha resting their starters. But for now, I just don't see Omaha resting their starters. Also on Friday, we've got Orlando Valkyries taking on the Vegas Thrill. Okay, this one isn't all that important. Orlando is locked in at the 3. They can't go any higher, but they can't go any lower. Vegas is also the 3rd worst team in the league. Let's just keep it moving. Saturday, we've got the Indy Ignite versus San Diego Mojo. Same with this matchup. Indy is basically locked in as the 4th seed. They can't move up, but they can't move down. And then San Diego, they're basically vying for draft positioning and whatnot, if by any means, if anything. But this one's basically a last hurrah for San Diego. It's 9 p.m. Eastern start time. So that is 6 p.m. Pacific time. That kind of scared me, but I digress. All right, Sunday. Sunday, we have the Columbus Fury taking on the Vegas Thrill. Another bottom dweller matchup. Oh, look, I don't want to be disrespectful to both of those teams, but honestly, it's like that's kind of the toilet bowl matchup right there. Look, don't get me wrong. The Fury have a chance to end the season not in last place, but let's be honest, this has no impact on the playoffs. But the next matchup and the final matchup does have playoff implications, and I'm very surprised this one is not on CBS Sports Network. The Omaha Supernovas play at the Atlanta Vibe. All right, this one is the crucial one. This one is the big one, and if serve holds, if Atlanta does win its match and then Omaha wins its match, this one's basically for the number 1 seed. If Atlanta loses along the way, then this match has no meaning, and Atlanta will probably both teams will probably just rest its stars because they'll have locked in their seeds. But Atlanta has the toughest end to the schedule. They've got Indy, and then they've also got Omaha. Oh, man, that is brutal right there. I will give Omaha Omaha, I also kind of give them the benefit of the doubt. They play Grand Rapids, which, I mean, Grand Rapids doesn't have much to play for, but Omaha is still going to be playing their starters. They just can't underestimate them like they did with the Columbus Fury. But this one is for the marbles. I would not be surprised if Omaha and Atlanta did play for the PVF championship. But we shall see what happens. And that's basically it. That is going to do it for the last week of the PVF preview. And hard to believe we're finally at this stage of the season. It's really cool if you ask me. And I can't wait to see what is in store for the 4 teams that do make the playoffs. I think it's going to be very fun if you ask me. And I would not be surprised if we got some fireworks in some of these matches. Like, I really hope the Atlanta Vibe Omaha Supernovas match is going to be one worth noting. And it's in 10 days. The semifinals are on Friday, May 9th. So what am I doing May 9th? Nothing. I'm not doing anything, which I think is cool. And then Sunday, which is May 11th, is the championship. So it's the match of a million on Sunday, May 11th. And thank goodness I don't have any conflict when it comes to the AVP and whatnot. But that's another thing I forgot to mention today. Oh, crap. Anyway, yeah, the PBF starts next week, and it's going to be very fun times when it comes to the PBF championships. So I can't wait to see what the 4 teams that have in store for us. The first matchup is the 1 seed versus 4 seed at 5 p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. Eastern. And then following that is the second match, the 2 seed versus 3 seed at 7:30 p.m. Pacific time and 10:30 p.m. Eastern time. Yeah, both matches are going to be on CBS Sports Network, and it's winner take all. So that's going to do it for the PBF portion of the show. We're going to take one last commercial break. Hang on. When we come back, we've got some 3C2A men's volleyball to discuss, and then we've also got some high school boys volleyball, and we've got a little bit of AVP. So keep it locked here. You were listening to Set Point here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. We'll be right back after this.
What's the fever on the head?
Hey, yo, what's good, Georgia? It's your boy ACS, and if you love sports from the Peak State as much as I do, then Georgia Sports Central is your one-stop destination for down south sports, courtesy of IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Are you a yellow jacket at heart, or do you bleed the red and black of the Bulldogs? Do you keep it true to Atlanta with Trae Young, Capella, and the boys? Do you rise up with the Dirty Birds on Sundays? Are you excited to see what the future holds for Michael Penix Jr., Bijan, and the rest of the Falcon squad? Do you live at 755 Battery Avenue? Do you rep for Albies, Acuna, and the rest of Braves country? If so, then let's get united every Wednesday for some Braves, Hawks, UGA, Georgia Tech, Atlanta Dream, Falcons, and more on Georgia Sports Central, only on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hello, ladies and sinners. Hello, sports fans around the world. Hello, IE Sports family. This is Cale Henderson, the host of IE Vegas, the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio. If you folks are interested in sports in the Vegas area, if you're wanting to have a blast for 1 hour every Tuesday night from 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time to 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, this is a show built for the Vegas sports fans, where we feature the Las Vegas Raiders, the Las Vegas Golden Knights, the Las Vegas Aces, and the University of Las Vegas, Nevada Rebels. Hopefully, fingers crossed, MLB team coming soon. Either way, if you folks are looking to have a blast for 1 hour each and every week, tune in Tuesday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time to 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you folks are interested in Vegas sports news, go to our Twitter, at SinCities_IESR, and you can speak with me, the host, Cale Henderson, at Cale_Henderson on Twitter. At any time, be happy to reply. Always want to reach out to our fans. Again, the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's up, New York? This is Ricky K coming at you with the NY State of Sports, a new show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Listen to me every Thursday afternoon as we bring you the latest takes on the Yankees, Mets, Jets, Giants, Knicks, Nets, Rangers, Devils, and Islanders. Plus, you get some college hoops and what's the local sports events going on in the area. It's a state that never sleeps, so why not get the opinions and sports takes that never sleep? Again, every Thursday, 2 p.m. to the NY State of Sports. We'll see you then.
And we are back with the final part of Set Point here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. Definitely check out all of our amazing shows, such as Sin City Sports with Cale Henderson. Got to remember that the PVF Championship will be taking place at Lee's Family Forum in Las Vegas, Nevada, home of the UNLV Rebels. Also, make sure to check out Georgia Sports Central and New York State of Sports with Ricky K and ACS. Both teams are actually in the NCAA men's volleyball tournament, with Fort Valley State representing Georgia and Damon representing New York. So there we have it right there. So I actually do want to talk a little bit of some AVP, as I actually forgot to mention this early on. So there was actually a qualifier when it came to this. But honestly, there was just a lot of volleyball happening in terms of like the NCAA men's volleyball side of things. As honestly, the AVP had its qualifier, and I'm going to be honest, when it comes to like the actual tournament season, like the actual tournaments, like double elimination, et cetera, that's when I'm going to be really locked in. But there were two teams, or there were pairs on the men's and women's side that qualified for the AVP League, which is still me trying to get used to it. So honestly, I think this was it was still a very fun tournament. I just wish I wasn't so busy and whatnot. And Huntington Beach was just super busy. There was the MPSF tournament in terms of beach volleyball, and then you also had the AVP the AVP League qualifier. So on the women's side, we had James Shaw and Kame Shulk qualifying. So that's good that they qualified. Good pair right there. And then on the women's side, you had Lexi Denneberg and Julia Skulls. So Julia Skulls is familiar with being in the AVP League, as she and Betsy Flint were in the AVP League last year, I think. Were they in the AVP League, or did they fall short? Either way, Julia Skulls and Lexi Denneberg as a pair are making their first ever league debut. So there you have it right there. So the AVP League tracker is as follows: Chase Budinger and Miles Evans, Andy Bench and Miles Partain, Taylor Crabb and Taylor Sander. I guess I should mention that Budinger and Evans are on the San Diego Smash. The Andy Bench and Miles Partain are on the Miami Mayhem, it looks like. And then Taylor Crabb and Taylor Sander are on New York. And then the pairs that have qualified but aren't on a team are Trevor Crabb and Phil Dalhauser, Hagen Smith and Logan Weber, and Kame Shulk and James Shaw. So in the hunt, you've got Sean Cook and Brian Miller, Avery Drost and Wyatt Harrison. Avery Drost, former Set Point guest. Got to get that right. Cody Caldwell and Ryan Wilcox, Theo Brunner and Troy Field, Tim Baumgren, Paul Ottman, Gage Basie and Caleb Queichel, Derek Bradford, Jordan Hoppy, Tim Brewster and Ryan Irena, and then Evan Corey and Triborn. So there's that right there. And then on the women's side, in terms of the AVP League tracker, you've got Tony Rodriguez and Gina Urango of the San Diego Smash that have qualified, Kylie DeBerg and Haley Harward of the Dallas Dream. So my bad. I said Miami Mayhem. It's actually the Dallas Dream. So Kylie DeBerg and Haley Harward have qualified for the AVP League on the Dallas Dream, as well as Andy Benish and Miles Partain. And then you got Taryn Brasher and Kristen Nuss. So Taryn Brasher is Taryn Cloth, but she got married over the summer and whatnot. So if you're wondering who is Teran Brasher and not Teran Cloth, that's Teran Cloth. But since she got married, she had to change her last name. And you got Melissa Jimana Paredes and Brandy Wilkerson of the Miami Mayhem. And then you've got Corin Quiggle and Megan Rice qualified for the AVP League, but not on a team. And then Lexi Denneberg and Julia Scholes are both on a team, they're both not on a team, but they've qualified for the AVP League. So in the hunt, you've got Savvy Simo and Abby Van Winkle, Devin Newberry and Jane Whitmarsh, Therese Cannon and Megan Kraft, which I think they'll probably make it to the AVP League. Then you got Kelly Chang and Molly Shaw, Kim Hildreth and Kelly Kalinsky, Jolani Hodell and Tegan Van Gunst, Maureen Kinna and Chloe Loreen, Macy Jurger and Maddie Shields, and then Madeline May Anderson and Brooke Bauer. In case you're wondering where Sarah Hughes is, she actually suffered an injury to begin the season, and that's why she and Kelly Chang are not on the same pair, which really sucks, but it is what it is, and volleyball does have its injuries here and there. It's not like Madden where you can turn off the injuries, but that's going to do it for the AVP League tracker. Just wanted to get that out of the way. Soon there's going to be the AVP, for the first full AVP tournament as you've got the AVP's Huntington Beach Open, which will be soon. So it actually was at Newland Beach, which is still Huntington Beach, but I digress. It was a one-day single elimination matchup. It was just pairs of 16. It was just pairs of 2 and then a bracket of 16. So there you have it right there. All right, but that's that for the AVP. Jumping to the 3C2A in men's volleyball, there is a new champion crowned, and that team is the Golden West College Rustlers as Abracadabra Alakazam. Oh, no, my thing isn't. Oh, great. My photo didn't get posted, but regardless, here it is. Golden West is your new 3C2A men's volleyball state champion as they took down Santa Barbara City in the semifinals. It was quite a little bit of a fun semifinal, but here's the photo of the new state champions. Golden West wound up winning it on their rivals' home floor as they took down San Diego Mesa. So Golden West, like I mentioned, they swept Santa Barbara City, and then Orange Coast actually made it to the semifinals, but San Diego Mesa took them down in 4 sets. And that was kind of a redemption match for San Diego Mesa. Trevor Clark in that match, he had 28 kills, which was just a fantastic performance. He also had 25 kills in the championship match, but it was to no avail. He was the only player in double digits in terms of kills. And San Diego Mesa lost in the state championship for the 2nd straight year, while Golden West avenged both of their losses to San Diego Mesa from earlier in the year. Golden West was led by tournament MVP Aiden Powell, who had 20 kills. He also had 2 service aces. Golden West had a whopping 11 service aces in this match. When their serves were on, they were just so tough to just take down, and they really got San Diego Mesa uncomfortable in terms of their position, in terms of like everything. Rylan Kozer had 12 digs for San Diego Mesa. Like I mentioned, Trevor Clark had 25 kills. From what I'm hearing and from what he told me, he's looking like he's going to UC Irvine, which I think is going to be really incredible because, remember, UC Irvine is going to be losing Halir Heno and Nolan Flexen. So good on San Diego Mesa. San Diego Mesa's Trevor Clark. They also got 14 kills from Kai Rodriguez. They also got 6 service aces from Owen Banner, who actually made all-tournament. Kai Rodriguez also made all-tournament, which I think is awesome. And Aiden Powell, he was just left speechless. He was the tournament MVP. So there you have it right there. Logan Shepard also had 37 assists, and then he also put down 6 kills, which I thought was pretty nice. He was pretty solid, if you ask me. Unfortunately, it was just to no avail as this Golden West partied like it was 2013 because that was the last time they wound up winning the state championship. So, and you got to remember that Golden West nearly had its program cut because of low numbers. And then Nick Amato, who was a grad assistant for Alan Knipe at the time, he took over the program, which I thought was pretty nice. And he really revived that team, which I think is pretty cool if you ask me. So that's that right there for the 3C2A men's volleyball. And we will see if Golden West can protect their title. If Aiden Powell, Kai Rodriguez, and most of those boys come back next year, you already know that they're going to vie for another championship. Will Orange Coast be back for another state championship? Will San Diego Mesa be back in the Final Four following the graduation of players like Logan Shepard, Trevor Clark, and Julian Montez? Will Santa Barbara City get back to the Final Four, and will they be able to make it to the championship match with Bridget Coolish as head coach? What will be the fate of Irvine Valley, because they're still a talented team and whatnot? So a lot of storylines in the off season, but we're going to leave that for later, and we're going to leave that for next year. So that's that for the 3C2A in men's volleyball. So we got to go with some CIF, the CIF. So they just released its pools, and here are the pools for Division I. So Pool A is Miracosta, Corona Del Mar, Beckman, and San Clemente. And then Pool B is Huntington Beach, Loyola, Newport Harbor, and Redondo Union. So breaking down all these teams, Miracosta, no doubt in my mind, they were going to be the 1 seed. I mean, they've only lost one. They haven't lost the best 3 of 5 match to a Southern Section team. So you have that. Corona Del Mar has been consistent as they come. They have no bad losses. They're only, I guess, close to a bad loss they get is Loyola, but even that is not even considered a bad loss. 5 is Beckman. Look, I'm going to be honest. I'm a little surprised Beckman was the 5 seed. I mean, the thing that I think Beckman has over Newport Harbor is they actually beat Edison twice, whereas Newport Harbor split with Edison. Well, technically they played him 3 times, but 2 of those times were in best 3 out of 5 matches, which goes into a main criteria over best 2 of 3 matches. Even though Beckman only played Edison once in a best 3 of 5 match. But regardless, Beckman is the 5. They actually won their first ever South Coast League championship because this was their first year in the South Coast League following the transition from the Pacific Coast League. And then 8 is San Clemente, who shared the league title with Beckman in terms of the South Coast League championship. They should be counting their lucky stars. They have a win over Mater Dei. Well, they and Redondo Union, because Mater Dei lost on their last regular season match of the season to St. John Bosco of all teams, and that cost Mater Dei a spot in Division I. I bet you if they had a win over Redondo Union and a win over San Clemente, I think Mater Dei is in, and then the committee has a very tough decision on their hands. But San Clemente was the last team in, and Mater Dei was the first team out of Division I. So you have that right there. Then Pool B, Huntington Beach, no doubt in my mind, they were going to be the 2 seed. They don't have a best 3 of 5 loss to a Southern Section team, which I think is pretty cool if you ask me. Loyola is the 3 seed. Even though they don't have the flashiest of wins, they don't have the worst of losses. They did beat Miracosta in a tournament. They also have a 2 out of 3 win over Huntington Beach, even though they lost both 3 out of 5 matches. They still wound up winning their league as well. And they also won a tournament in Arizona, and their strength of schedule pretty much checks out as well. Newport Harbor is kind of the team that I think can maybe make noise. I think they're a dark horse to win it all, but I will say that's not a team that anyone wants to trifle with. I know they struggled in their last regular season match against Los Alamitos. I was at that match PA announcing, but I'm going to say this. If there's no team anyone wants to play that is on their A game, it's Newport Harbor. I think that's a team that can really challenge their way to the finals. I mean, I want to see them prove me right on Wednesday when they play Huntington Beach, because that's going to be their true test. And Corona Del Mar is also another team that I think can challenge Miracosta. It's going to be tough because Miracosta is on the road, but Corona Del Mar, they don't have a bad loss this year. They're playing really good volleyball, and this is the post-year following Sterling Foley's graduation, and they're just speeding along the rebuild process. And heck, they're not even in a rebuild. They're in a little bit of a semi-mini transition year, but honestly, Corona Del Mar is just playing some darn good volleyball, and Ben Brown is such a talent. Drake Foley has really stepped up at setter. Their middles are probably the best in the Southern Section, Daniel Booker and Jack Robinson. Their right side, Brady Gant, is solid as a rock. Hunter Hanneman's another great outside hitter. Brogan Glenn, who's bound for UCLA, he is a fantastic libero. And most of those players that I just mentioned, they're not seniors. There's only one senior, and that's Brogan Glenn. Everyone else comes back. So Corona Del Mar is going to look really good next year. But for this year, I'm not going to make predictions right away. This week is basically 1 seed versus 5 seed, 2 seed versus 6 seed, 3 seed versus 7 seed, and then 4 seed versus 8 seed. So basically the top overall seed in the pool faces the 3rd seed in the pool, and then the 2nd seed in the pool faces the 4th seed in the pool on Wednesday. And then next week, it's 1 versus 8, and then 2 versus 7, and then 3 versus 2, and then 4 versus 5. And then next Saturday is a 1 versus 2. I'm sorry, not 1 versus 2. A 1 versus 4, 2 versus 3, 6 versus 7, and then 5 versus 8. And then whoever has the best record will go to the CIF 7th Section Division I Finals, which will be held at Cerritos College. And I'm going to probably be in attendance for that, and it's going to be fun time. So we're going to probably see some of the future collegiate men's volleyball players take place here. And why not have me be there? Because why not? But I'll make my full predictions when it comes to this next week, and we'll see if I'm right. But if I had to pick, I'd say Miracosta beats Beckman, Corona Del Mar beats San Clemente, Loyola beats Redondo Union barely, because Redondo almost beat Loyola the first go-around, but Loyola inched out that win. And look, man, this is going to be tough for Huntington Beach. I mean, Huntington Beach, it's tough to beat a team 3 times in one season, and Newport Harbor is playing some good volleyball. They've got J.P. Wardy playing great. Henry Clemo's pretty decent as well. I'm forgetting who else is on that team of theirs. Wyatt Nichols is playing better. Jack Berry is solid in the middle, as well as Wyatt DeMaio or Lucas DeMaio. But we shall see. I think Newport Harbor can challenge Huntington Beach. I think Huntington Beach will come out on top, and barring nothing drastic happens with Huntington Beach prior, because I did see that Logan Hutnick is going to be part of some junior national team, if I'm not mistaken. Like a lot of these players will be part of the national. The U19 national team. I'm hoping that they don't have to play next week or during the CIF Southern Section playoffs or the CIF SoCal regionals, because I hope if USA Volleyball gets in the way of these athletes, there's no forgiving that, because it's bad enough that some of these players have to play in the middle of the season, and that could wind up costing players. But at the same time, if they have to miss time in the playoffs because of being on the US U19 national team, then we have a whole big problem on our hands. But we'll have to wait and see when it comes to that, and I'll have to get more of the inside scoop when it comes to Craig Pizzanti and all the other coaches that are involved, that have players involved in this sort of thing. But that is going to do it for the high school boys volleyball side of things. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for this week's episode of Set Point. For everyone here at IE Sports Radio, this is Teran Rodriguez signing off. Have an amazing week. Enjoy all the volleyball action, whether it's at the beach, whether it's in indoors, whether it's NCAA men's volleyball. And remember, please do everything you can to try to reinstate GCU men's volleyball. Please, please, please. I really want them to be back. I think they can be back and whatnot. So, it's the link to whatchamacallit. The link to the petition to reinstate them is in my story. So definitely do help reinstate. Oh, no. Oh, great. Great timing for... But anyway, God, this thing is glitchy. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, everybody. Technology is... Yeah, this... We're going to have... Yeah, trying to close out the show and whatnot. But honestly... But yeah, just to close off the show, thank you for all of your support. It really just means a lot. And let's try to support GCU men's volleyball. Let's all pack together. Let's not try to, give up on this, because GCU men's volleyball has worked too hard for this. A lot of these student athletes don't deserve this and whatnot. I think they deserve to still have a men's volleyball team at GCU. So let's keep fighting for it. Let's keep battling, and let's make our voices heard when it comes to this whole thing. And let's do this. Let's just do everything we can. And I'm confident that we'll get GCU reinstated. I mean, we got Stanford men's volleyball reinstated. We can get GCU men's volleyball reinstated. So just going to wait for my outro video to load up, and then we will be on our way. But have yourself an amazing weekend. Enjoy all the volleyball action, and I will see you Wednesday at Huntington Beach, and then we shall see. I really want to also try to go to the National Collegiate Men's Volleyball Tournament in Columbus, Ohio, but it's going to be pretty tough. But time will tell, and maybe I could try to reconcile with the folks. But have a great week, and I will see you probably this week for some volleyball content. Peace!